But actually training there, it was like a whole awakening. Like,
Mm.
I met some really good people. The training was really in depth, and I really like spiritually evolved and changed as a person. So I like went as one person, and when I came back, I was totally different. I just felt like something just went, things were more open. Like, it's so hard to like kind of put it all into words, but I remember just so much had changed, so much had shifted for me, and I knew that my path, my life needed to kind of change. And I came back being a different person, being kind of more connected to myself and what I needed, what I wanted. And yeah, it was definitely like a life-changing experience.
Greetings and welcome to another episode of Naturally You Radio. My name is Leah Sam, I'm the Naturally You coach, and this is a space where we help support Black women to eat for health, think for happiness, and live in harmony, or what I call becoming naturally you. And it's where I get the opportunity to highlight and showcase amazing Black female experts and teachers and practitioners that can help you on your natural health journey. The lady that we're interviewing today, that I have the pleasure of interviewing today, is a sister that I've worked with a few times, and I've done work and done sessions and classes in the arena that she's in before, but I think I've most thoroughly enjoyed doing it and watching her do it, because she seems to do it with such genuine joy and like enthusiasm, and she makes everyone feel really comfortable. And there's no judgment. There's no, if you can't do it, then, go to the corner. Like, everyone's welcome. Everybody's welcome, and everyone is really made to feel empowered by the work that it is that she does. So I wanted her to come on and talk to us about the work that she does. And so I would like to warmly welcome Black Rose Yogini to the Naturally You podcast. Welcome, Rose.
Oh, thank you, thank you. It's such a lovely introduction. I'm a bit like, oh, what do I say now? Thank you, really appreciate that. And thanks for having me. I'm really excited about
You're
this.
welcome. Thank you for being here. So, can we just start off by letting the sisters know who you are and what it is that you do, and why it is that how it is that you came to do the work that you're doing at the moment?
Okay, lovely. So I'm Rose, also known as Black Rose Yogini. It's all in the name, really. I kind of wanted everyone to know who I was, what I do, and that I'm Black. I recently found that someone found me. They were looking for a Black yoga teacher, and they literally Googled my name and they found me. So basically, yeah, I teach yoga. I've certified in Hatha and Ashtanga yoga. Recently certified in Egyptian yoga.
Ooh.
Has like African Kemetic kind of background to it. So I've been teaching yoga for about 5 years, Egyptian yoga, started beginning of this year. And basically when the first time I ever did a yoga class, I kind of went into it I came from like a fitness background initially. So I was always into fitness and running and those kinds of things. I remember just trying a class just to see what it was about. And I noticed like the benefits, like mentally, physically, everything on me. And since then, I was like hooked. I kind of kept going, but because finances was a bit of a barrier,
Mm.
I would only go to classes if they were like free or like discounted and things like that. But I remember just feeling like for my mental health, it really helped me. Um, so kind of fast forward to now, I kind of worked at yoga studios, then I became a teacher. And then when I went to train in India, initially for my yoga training, I came in with like this kind of mission of like, because basically when I would go to classes, I would notice I'd be the only Black person in
Mm.
the room. I would think, actually, this has really helped me for my mental health, for my anxiety, for my stress, all these things. And I was like, I'm sure the Black people are going through this as well. And I kind of made it my mission that I wanted to see more people like myself doing yoga, women, men. You, I wanted to see us in these spaces and kind of looking after ourselves, looking after our mental health, and not apologizing for that, because and also not being ashamed of that, because I think also that was something I noticed when I started practicing. People thought, oh, are you this now, this kind of person? And I was like, no, like it makes me feel good. It makes me feel happy. And since, going to classes, practicing yoga, teaching yoga, I've noticed I've come such a long way in myself, in my stress and my well-being, everything. So I just kind of can't really advocate it enough. And I've got so many of my friends and family more into it, and I'm just
Mm.
doing this like path of building a community of people that I feel it really benefits. So yeah, I mean, I probably like answered about 17 questions in
Yeah.
one, but I hope you guys have the
No,
main
that's
one.
perfect. Thank you. So what was it like being a Black woman going to India to study yoga?
Yeah, that was a very interesting time. The funny thing as well, I initially wasn't going to go to India. It wasn't really on my plan. I was going to train in the UK and do it over a period of time. But for some reason, like things kind of aligned. I ended up going to India, and I was a bit like, it was a bit of a culture shock. So there was a lot of staring, and
Mm.
as a person, and you're very aware of that when you go to different parts of the world, or even different areas in your own city, that
Yeah.
you might get stared at. So I was very conscious of that, and that made me feel quite uncomfortable. But
Mm.
um, I think it was just a thing that they did to anybody that was no, not Indian.
Right.
Um, but actually training there, it was like a whole awakening. Like,
Mm.
I met some really good people. The training was really in depth, and I really like spiritually evolved and changed as a person. So I like went as one person, and when I came back, I was totally different. I just felt like something just went, things were more open. Like, it's so hard to like kind of put it all into words, but I remember just so much had changed, so much had shifted for me, and I knew that my life needed to kind of change. And I came back being a different person, being kind of more connected to myself and what I needed, what I wanted. And yeah, it was definitely like a life-changing experience. I'm glad I did it, and I would do it again. Would do it
How
again. Yeah.
how could you explain to someone?
Mm.
Because, well, firstly, as you've pointed out, it's
Yeah.
not yoga is, even though it is becoming a bit more common in the Black community now, I do know more people who practice yoga who are Black, and more Black
Mhm.
yoga practitioners who are Black females as well. But we're on the precipice of it. We're not like, there's not an abundance of Black female
Mhm.
yoga practitioners. So I know it's still something that we maybe don't even feel connected to. I know even from a religious perspective that
Mhm.
there are, like, I know some of my Christian clients feel very uncomfortable with practicing yoga. However,
Yeah.
I've been
Mhm.
to a Christian yoga class,
Interesting.
unintentionally, but there was a yoga session happening in the local sports center. And when I got in there, she said, "Welcome to the Christian yoga class."
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you speak a bit on links or conflicts or anything that you know, for a sister who is Christian who feels like, it could be conflicting in any way?
I know what you mean. Yeah. So I do get some people kind of, that's kind of their worry. And I've had a friend that is quite a devout Christian, and she's come to my classes. And I think what it is, I think where people see it as is they see it as like a religious thing, or that you're now adopting another religion and that you're now kind of going into another realm. But I think if you are coming into it from a different perspective, so like for an example, for myself, I see yoga as like a practice for my mind and a practice for my body. I
Mm,
think once you start separating those things,
yeah,
it can kind of you can kind of see it for what it is. So, when I was doing my training in India, I found the things like the chanting
yeah,
and things like, because there were um, in kind of Sanskrit, like ancient Indian things like that. I felt like I didn't really want to chant certain things because it didn't feel like part of my culture. So I
right.
wasn't comfortable with that. So I can understand maybe, some people not might not feel comfortable with, say, the chanting, or
Mm,
some of the, like, if you start talking about the spirituality and the kind of the theory behind certain parts of India. So in my classes, it kind of becomes more of a practice where we work on the breath, we
yeah.
work with the body and those kinds of things. So for me, because of how what's the word? I think with yoga, there's so many limbs to it. There's 8 limbs,
Mm,
and postures are some of it, the breath work, the
mm,
rest, these kinds of things, and the way you live your life. So it just depends what people want to adapt and take from it. So it doesn't mean that if you do yoga, you're now entering in another religion. It's
mm,
just, you can choose not to do certain things, like not to chant, not to etc., not to speak Sanskrit, those things, if you feel that it doesn't kind of resonate with your religion. But it is a spiritual practice, and it's more about you connecting to you and your higher self and your community.
mm,
And I guess, I mean, I'm not, I was born Christian and I was christened, but I can't say that I'm now a Christian. And I think with religion and things like that, it is all about community, it's all about connection. So I think if you can kind of, if people are coming from that background, maybe they can see it in that way, that it's a way to connect with your community and not
mm.
it's going to take you away from your religion. And I would never want to do that to anyone. So I don't know if that
No,
kind of
perfect. Because I've never understood it enough because there's a lot of sisters I know who want the benefits of yoga. And
mm,
they know people like yourself who have benefited mentally and emotionally. They feel more flexible. They're not achy when they wake up in the morning. They're calmer. They can manage stress better. They're losing weight. But because they feel it's going to conflict with their religion, they feel like they're not able to participate in it. So the explanation you just gave was really helpful, because I'm sure it will help some sisters to be able to adapt what it is, because as you've said, you weren't comfortable with some things, you omitted them, but you're still very much on the journey with this and benefiting from it. Thank you for that. So more about yoga. So can you explain to the sisters what those 8 limbs of yoga are, and how they each play a role in the wellness benefits of yoga?
yeah, no, that's fine. Um, so we have the asanas, which most people know about, the postures. We've got the yamas, and they're like the do's and don'ts. Um, and we've got samadhi, which is where you kind of reach a state of like higher bliss. Sorry, I really have to go into the
Okay.
archives.
In fact,
Um,
if you could give examples as you're going through, because what is
yeah,
a posture?
yeah. So the postures are basically like how things like downward dog,
Oh,
um, and things like that. So we call them asanas. So it's just postures. It's just the movements within yoga that come in
right.
different sequences.
How many
Um, Say again.
how many postures are there?
Oh,
Because I swear I saw a poster. Well, I went to Jamaica I was a speaker at a detox retreat in Jamaica in Negril, and we actually stayed at the yoga center, the Negril Yoga Center, and on the wall there was a poster, and I swear it had like 200 positions in it.
yeah. I think there might be about maybe over 300. I don't know the number exactly, actually,
Wow.
but because you've got things like breath work, the postures, and then you've got other things within it, it kind of, yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the
Uh,
asanas, and what's the other limbs?
yeah, so you've got namas and yamas, so they're like the do's and don'ts. So they're kind of like how you've got like the Ten Commandments. So there's things like, not having too many possessions, or being kind of obsessed with material things and things like that,
Hmm.
or not being um jealous, and things like that are within these. Um, so we've got those three, and then we've got so we've done the postures and got the breath work. So with breath work, as you know, it's just kind of like things that you do yourself, kind of working with different things. Like we've got things like humming bee, we've got things like breath retention and things like that, and that kind of just helps you kind of work with your chakras and things like that. Um, I've kind of got these in the wrong order, so
Okay.
apologies in advance.
You could have I wouldn't even know the order, so you could tell me that was exactly the order. I
I'll tell
wouldn't-
you. Samadhi is kind of where you reach a state of higher being. So once you kind of work through the postures and you kind of work with the do's and don'ts and things like that, you elevate your being. And then you get to Shavasana, or it's kind of like the restoration part of yoga. So you might find that at the end of a class,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
where you get to lie down and relax. I find that's the most powerful thing after you kind of work with the breath, work with the movement.
Mm.
Um, you kind of alter your state of being, and you can kind of allow those things to start to happen and allow you to just take it all in. So it's
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, yeah.
I do think like because I do remember I had the Asana Rebel app.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a paid sponsor, but Asana Rebel, if you want to sponsor the podcast, like we're here for that. I had the Asana Rebel app, and at the end of most of their workouts, they do the Shavasana. So is that how you say it?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's where at the end, for anyone that hasn't done yoga, it's where you basically lie down. And I was thinking, well, I ain't got 2 minutes to lie down. Give me another posture, innit? But when I did it, because she's narrating over it and she's saying, allow, allow the work you've just done to take hold. And it is because I think it's like almost like a metaphor for most of our lives. We will do something and achieve something and create something or tick something off our to-do list, and then we'll just swiftly move on to something else. And we never kind of stop to give ourselves a moment to appreciate what we've just done and what we've
Mm.
achieved. And I really find that I remember you did something similar in one of the yoga sessions that I did with you as well. At the end, you were getting us to get up and move and dance and stretch and all the things. And then at the end, you got us to do something that was really kind of calming and centering.
Mm.
And for someone like me who, if you're not working hard, you're not doing anything, that it was a paradigm shift to
100%.
acknowledge when you are not doing anything, everything is getting done. Like do without doing and everything is getting done. And I think
Mm.
that slow, intentional nature of yoga is one of the things that I find so appealing about it.
Mm.
Can you
And
speak on
that's
that for a moment?
say again, sorry.
Could you speak on that for a moment?
Yeah, no, I was just about to say that's one of the things that kind of drew me to it, because it was like this time where you can just be still, or you can just kind of have these moments just for you. And it's so simple, some of the things that we do in the practice. And it just shifts things so much. Even just spending like 5 minutes of breathing, like helps. And as you said, like I know a lot of people when it comes to Shavasana, it's like they can't switch off, because I don't know if it's like a female thing, black woman thing, whatever it might be, or people in the modern world. It's like because your mind thinking you're trying to get everything done, you feel like I can't afford to sit still, I can't. But the thing is, rest is when the real recovery happens, isn't it? And it's when we stop and pause, that's when we can kind of go, actually, I've got space now to kind of what am I going to go do going forwards? Like even after I meditate, I try and meditate every day, and even if it's just 5 minutes, I find that there's space for me to think, to come up with ideas, to actually pause and go, actually, am I happy here? Is this working? Is that? And I can pivot. So to kind of come back to what you were sort of asking and talking about, I think with yoga, it's very grounding, it's very centering, and you kind of start to work with, if you're into chakras and things like that. So there's sort of 7 points in the body that are like energy centers. So when you start kind of work with those, yoga kind of helps those open, helps you kind of, I don't know, just like release things and connect to yourself. There's just so many benefits to it, even things like releasing tension out of the body. So even like, as I said, like in my classes, I like to work with movement, because for me, dancing is therapy. And, for me, it's still like releasing and working into the body and connecting with the self. So it's just, there's just so many ways we can kind of help ourselves with movement, with breath, with being still, with meditation. And there's just so many layers to kind of healing ourselves.
Mm.
And our ancestors knew this. And I don't know what's gone wrong with society now. Well, we've come so far away from what we used to do, how we used to connect, and we also used to be so connected with our community. So I think yoga is just one of these tools that kind of helps us kind of get back to that. Yeah, I'm really passionate about this.
I feel that. So going back to that, you were saying like the ancestors know. So
Mm,
again, I know for myself, I didn't see yoga as being something that I could resonate with because it didn't feel like it was part of my culture. Then
mm.
a brother who was in the same community as me, he actually started practicing and teaching African yoga. And then I knew another brother and sister who started doing Egyptian yoga. Can you,
Oh
and then,
no.
yeah, so the brother that did African yoga was Pablo Imani. And
Yeah,
sorry?
I know Pablo, yeah.
Yes, yeah. And then there was a brother and sister called Sematawi and Charmaine, and they did Egyptian yoga, I believe. I believe that's right. And then I felt more connected to it because I was like, oh, and then they were saying like on the hieroglyphs, you can see pictures of the ancient Egyptians in the positions. So then I felt more connected to it in that way. And then that kind of allowed me to feel more, like, I guess, accepting of all of the different yoga modalities. And I mean, to be fair, my grandparent is from Mumbai, so like I've already got a direct link to India and Indian culture. But for the sisters out there who don't necessarily feel as connected or feel like, like me, because it doesn't feel like our thing,
Yeah,
they don't
yeah,
feel like they
yeah.
can participate in it. Can you share with them your experiences with the difference between
Mm.
African yoga and, I guess I don't want to say traditional, but Eastern yoga, for the sisters that have that same concern as me?
Yeah, no, 100%. Because, yeah, when I first, trained in yoga, I went to India. I got told, India's the birthplace of yoga. I went to Rishikesh, where that was the actual place of yoga. And then when I did my Egyptian yoga training, um, they kind of go into they went deep into the history of yoga from ancient Egypt, which was at Kemet.
Mm,
And so we know Egyptians predate ancient India, and the hieroglyphics that they looked at showed the postures, showed that they were actually doing yoga like thousands of years before it was kind of came to India. And so it kind of took me a while to get my head around it, because you kind of get told, India, yoga, Africa, you know,
something else. Pyramids. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So so it took me a while to. I mean, still in my mind, it's still like, okay, yeah, that's so interesting that they looked at the postures, they kind of reconstructed it and worked out this was yoga. Um and what I found as well, working with the Egyptian yoga that I practice, the system that I teach is called Tef Sima Pal Netaru,
Mm.
and it basically means walking in the company of gods and goddesses. So
Oh.
each of the postures are like gods and goddesses, and what's the word, like deities and things like that
Mhm.
of that time. So when you're doing each posture, you're embodying these like kind of godlike beings,
Mm.
and it's very spiritual practice. It's very much about moving in this sort of flow and moving with the breath. It's really beautiful, and I connected with it almost instantly, actually. And
Mm.
it's I mean, I could talk about it, but I feel like it's something that people need to experience.
Yeah.
And um, there is kind of different systems of this African Egyptian yoga, and the system that I trained with was with a man called Netta Unk. He's an American guy. He did the training in Jamaica, and that was
Ooh.
just, again, like another amazing experience.
Yeah.
But everybody that was on the course was black, and
Mhm.
training, I kind of said to him, because it was very Afro-centered, very, especially with the history and everything like that. And that's why I connected with it so much. I was like, I've been looking for something like this for so
Mm.
long. And I kind of said to him, like, I want to teach this, and obviously I want to empower my community, but is this only for Black people?
Yeah.
And he was very honest. He said, you know what, this is because of the origins, because of um, you know, the history and everything like that. It is kind of centered for us, and it is to help elevate us and our community. But he said if other people want to come and practice it, who are we to stop people? It is
Mm.
kind of like, you know, say yoga that we understood that was birthed from India. It was initially for kind of young boys that used to practice, like Indian boys, like pre-teens that used to
Oh,
practice yoga, and then it kind of grew and grew that now, worldwide we're practicing it everywhere. So it's kind of like you can't really gatekeep something like
yeah.
this, but in the essence, this practice, when we practice it, some magic happens, and
Mm,
I can't really explain it, but when I practice it, I feel like I'm on another level. I feel like I'm connecting
yeah.
deeper. So I hope that kind of
Yeah, no, that
gives
helps a lot. Thank you. Yeah, no,
yeah,
you explained that perfectly. Thank you. Um,
yeah.
how how do you feel specifically that yoga can help Black women on
Mm,
their health journey, on, on
mm,
all the levels of their health journey?
yeah. I would say like I feel like as Black women, I think we're kind of everybody's support mechanism. We're kind of the people that try and do everything. We try and put on a brave face. We can't try and keep strong. And sometimes we just need something or someone or whatever it might be to kind of feel like we matter, that we're humans and those kinds of things. Um, so I feel like with yoga, um, for us, it's a time and a space that's sacred for us.
Mm,
And, it's got so many benefits in terms of, for your mental well-being. It allows you to really slow down, work with your breath. Sometimes we're working in this kind of very stressed, overthinking kind of mentality. When we start to work with the breath and work with the body, we're starting to activate the parasympathetic system. So it allows us to kind of rest and digest, to kind of, calm down and be still. So that's one thing. Our mental health, reducing stress levels. Yoga is really good for stretching the body, um, toning the body, all of those things, and especially like working with elements, strengthening parts of the body. But I think the biggest thing is really mental health, like, and that's the thing that hooked me. I didn't consider myself someone that had like major mental health issues, but in the past, and even still now, I was kind of dealing with a lot of anxiety, even periods of depression.
mm,
And it kind of took me a while to realize that was happening because I wouldn't talk about it. I didn't
yeah.
speak to people about it, and I was really ashamed. And
Mm,
it wasn't until, sometimes you watch a show and it's really silly. You watch a show and they kind of show you certain things that are going on. You think, oh my God, that's me. And you're like, I didn't
yeah.
know what that was. And it's quite sad that, I kind of had to watch a show to kind of realize, I'm going through this. So for me, and hopefully for the Black women, if you are kind of dealing with your mental health or stress or whatever it might be, you feel like you can't really speak about it. I think going to a class, going to yoga, speaking to other people, moving your body, connecting with yourself, having time to rest, having time to pause, meditate, all of those things are so beneficial. And what better thing to do with the community? And as well, what I feel, especially when I was in Jamaica, kind of practicing this yoga with my community in the sunshine and also in my family's homeland. Like my
Oh,
background is Jamaican, my
yeah.
grandparents are born there. It was just such a like elevating experience, and we were eating like raw live food and things like that. And it was just, I think, when you just filling the body up with all that goodness, it's like, how can you not be recharged? How can you not be
Yeah.
happy? So I think in a long answer, basically it heals everything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Think like what you were saying, even when you were saying about the different limbs of yoga and, doing yoga and eating food and being around Black people, it's like there's an analogy about someone being given a bunch of flowers. So a lady's given a bunch of flowers, and then she's like, "Oh, that's so beautiful. I haven't been given a bunch of flowers." And she's like, "I need a vase to put it in." And then she goes and looks for a vase, and she's like, her only vase is dirty. So she washes the vase and she puts the flowers in the vase, and she's like, "Where shall I put it?" And then she's like, "There's nowhere in this house that's not like tidy." And she's like, "Okay, let me put it on this table, but I got to tidy the table first." So having that one positive thing come into her life meant that she
Mm.
started looking at and assessing all the other things that were in her life, from the vase to her room, clearing the table, and then clearing the whole room, everything to match the new, beautiful thing that's come into her life. And I feel that that's one of the things that yoga can do. It can be that kind of gateway to us looking at everything else. And like you said, a lot of us don't ever give ourselves time enough to slow down to even think or ascertain what is going on in our lives, and how we can improve it. So before we go, um, could you could you give us like a demonstration of something that we can do? Because I do like to keep these podcasts practical so that sisters actually have something to go away with. And I know you're not shy to move around a bit. So, and for people that are listening to this audio version, I'll ask Rose if you can kind of explain the movements. If you're watching it, you can see Rose do it. But for everyone that's listening, either you can come to YouTube and watch this bit on YouTube or on my website. But Rose is going to talk you through just a simple exercise that sisters can do like on a daily basis to help them kind of start their yoga journey. That would be awesome.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Thank
I'm going to
you.
stand up
Yeah.
and let me just get and move to a space where you can see me properly. Actually, and I really liked your vase analogy. I was going to
Oh,
say it's really nice. I was like, interesting, because
oh,
yeah, like even seeing like a flower, it can make you feel so much better.
yeah.
Okay, see it. Right. Hopefully you can see me just on
Yeah,
my
yeah.
shoe.
Hey.
Lovely. So this is actually an Egyptian yoga pose, and this one is from the goddess Aset, and it's called Aset's Embrace. She's known as the Divine Mother, and she offers and provides unconditional love. So it's a really simple pose. I'm going to stand back for the people that can see. I don't know if you can see my legs. Um, I've got shorts on, so don't worry. Oops, hold on. Right. Sorry, I'm in technology.
That's all right. Thank you.
Here we go. So, all I'm doing is I'm going to bring my feet together. I'm just going to stand nice and tall. And we're going to just roll the shoulders back as we inhale. Face the palms forward. Bring the arms 45 degrees. I'm hoping you can see all of
Yep.
me. Am I sort of in shot there?
Yeah, yeah.
So you're going to inhale. On the exhale, just wrap the hands around opposite shoulders. And I find it's quite nice to close the eyes, just relax in the lower body. And you're just kind of breathing here, nice and natural. So even if you just do this for maybe a minute or so, a few breaths, whatever you need. I find this posture a really nice one to come to. If you're just having one of those days or you're feeling a bit low, or you just need that little bit of self-care. There we go. And then when you're ready, you can open the eyes, bring the arms down to the sides. Take an inhale. Exhale, bring the palms closer to the body and just relax. So it's just a nice, simple
Thank
one.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's okay. That's okay.
Awesome. So I know
Yeah,
you need to run. So thank you very much for sharing this time and your wisdom and your story. I do really appreciate it. And I hope it's helped some other sisters to consider taking yoga into and making that a part of their health and life. Can you share with sisters where they can find you, the services that they can offer? And I'm going to ask you in public so that no pressure, but would you be comfortable in us doing an online um, African yoga class so that Black women all over, because we have an audience kind of all over the place. Would you feel comfortable? Can
I'd
we
love
have a
that.
chat about that?
Yeah, I'd love that. I'd love that. And it's one of the things I want to build, like an online community. So
Yeah.
I'm here for it. I love working with you. So
Oh, thank you. I love
yeah.
working with you. But how can sisters find you, sis?
Oh yeah, sorry. So I'm on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. I'm known as Black Rose Yogini. Um, I have an email. It's like blackroseyogini@hotmail.com if you want to email me. I've got like a little WhatsApp group. If you want to join that, just drop me a message on any of those mediums and I'll add you. Um, and yeah, I do Egyptian yoga on Tuesdays in Erdington in Birmingham, and it's also available online. But definitely want to be doing something with Leah as well online. And I also teach at Hot Pod Yoga and Yoga Born as well. If you ever pop in, I'll be around. So yeah.
Can you, just before we absolutely wrap up, can you just share like a message that you want to leave our sisters with regarding, everything that we've spoken about and their health and wellness and self-care journey?
Yeah, I love that. So I would say that you're worthy. You're worthy of your time. You're worthy of self-care and you're worthy of self-love. And there's always time, even if you've got 1 minute.
Yeah.
Please make that time and space because 1 minute can be the difference from a bad day getting worse or a bad day going good.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you so much, sis. I really appreciate your time. Thank you, everyone who's tuned in today, whether you're watching us on YouTube or on my site, thenaturallyyoucoach.com, or whether you are listening on any of the podcast platforms. I look forward to seeing you in our next episode of Naturally You Radio. And again, you can find us at thenaturallyyoucoach.com and most social networks at Naturally You Coach. I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Take care and stay healthy.